All right. Good morning, guys. So, I kind of just want to go over weekend price action today. Not really going to talk so much about like a general market outlook, but for me, this is really the key level. So, we're just kind of chopping around, but I mean, you're above this wick, so it's not a terrible look. Just kind of hard to judge. But what I want to kind of go over today is the different kinds of weekend playbooks. So all these yellow highlights pretty much just mark out every weekend. And you guys are going to notice there's a very common playbook. So, okay. Usually what happens on a weekend is you're going to get a very small range. So I would say usually between like 500 bucks to 1,000 bucks. So you got like 1K of range. So let's say 65K to 64K in this case. Um, so, what you guys will notice, especially on weekends, is the price action is very slow, extremely slow, with these kind of random impulsive moves. And it's going to be very, very hard to predict, like the direction that these go. But here's generally a good thing you can do. So you see that this level, right, gave you the fuel for higher. So in the weekend, when you kind of get this pump and it just doesn't go anywhere, just target this. So pretty much what the key with the weekends is every like swing point is going to hold, and you can just target the previous swing point, right? And in this case, I guess you could target lower, but again, you're not going to have the volume for this real dump off until the next day, right? So again, something like this, okay, on a weekend, right? You have this pump, whatever, weekend range. Here's the other playbook. So they dump it, so they sweep all of these stop losses, but they hold the range, right? This doesn't close below. So this time you just long, right? And you can just target, I guess, anywhere you really want, but probably just somewhere above this high right here. So anywhere up here, and that's a valid trade. All you have to do is long the sweep. So they take out these stops, you long and just target the next like logical area. Right? And again, this is a pretty decent move. It's like a $1,000 move. So the weekends are worth trading if you can be extremely precise. Now, the other thing with the weekends is, okay, this is extremely choppy, but it's an interesting example as well. So again, you have this dump, right? We finished the day with a dump, and we have this range. We never trade back into this range. We're just leaving like this kind of equal lows. To me, there's no trade here. So you could short this. I think this would have made sense. Longing this, though, is very risky because you're just longing a set of equal lows. So yeah, I mean, you get this pump eventually, but it just nukes. But on the weekend, you could take this long as a breakout long, right? That's one option, but kind of a hard trade to take. Or you could short this high. So that's one weekend playbook. And again, you guys will notice, right? This playbook is very, very similar. So again, you have this, right? Your low, and then you sweep the low. Now, on the weekend, again, what's your entry point? It's right here, right? Why? Because they're trading back into this low. So they just range it for a couple $100, right? In this small range up here. And then the minute they give you this small, like, I don't know, $400 dump, that's the only entry you're going to get. And you have to take it, right? And the minute you get this like impulsive 1K candle, you just sell it. You can't predict any of this because, as you can see, it just goes straight back down here. This is the kind of weekend move you want to trade because it just gets sold off basically immediately. Um, and you guys can kind of see this happen again and again and again, right? Like, so in this range, again, very, very similar. You had these highs, you swept these highs, couldn't close above, and then you went lower. These are all pretty much the same thing, where there's some sort of final like liquidity grab, right, before you just come back lower. So again, this was your liquidity grab here, these guys. And you could pretty much find this example over and over again, right? So there's that one, there's this one, there's this one. These are all virtually the exact same. Now, there's another kind of playbook which we can find, which would be this. And this is much harder to trade. When you have just this pure, and this I just wouldn't trade. When you have a dump like this, and it won't accept above a key level, like you guys can see that you can't get a strong close above any of these levels. This you don't trade because you don't know if it's going to break down and you're not above an important level. So to me, with that, there's no strength, so you have to be very, very careful. Um, Other weekend playbooks you can really run, not much. I mean, this doesn't get close enough to the gap. This is just mindless chop. Um, this is one of the rare times you do get a move, but I mean, again, this is kind of an obvious short, right? You get this big wick up, slow grind, and then you just collapse. But again, being a weekend, this usually comes back to exactly where it started, right? And sure enough, it does. Um, so what you kind of want to look for is just to fade the first move. Most of the time is what usually the strategy I would take. So again, if you see like the weekend begins, you get this little pump. You can either short the pump or just long this pullback. Same idea with this one over here. You really just have to make the choice. Are you going to try to long it or short it? And the only way you can long it, and again, these ones are much harder because they're not very clean. So the playbook that I would usually wait for is this one again, where you have this range, right? Let's say you get this impulse high, you short this, right? The same as before, and you can long the sweep of those lows. Um, Very similar thing here, right? And I'm trying to show as many redundant examples as I possibly can. You trade all the way down, and then eventually you fill this gap. When you fill the gap, you send. So you can long this pullback. Pretty much these all look the same. You get this like impulse high, very, very boring, and then some sort of move the other way. Right? Exact same thing again here. Right? Weekend begins, you get a pump, you can just fade the whole pump and then long the pullback right into this region over here. Right? Um, Buy the dip. Pretty much any strong weekend move, you can just fade that sweep, right? So again, this is the exact same example we looked at before, right? Where you have a strong initial low, you sweep back into it, but you can't close below, so you just keep going higher, right? And these are the kind of trades that I look for on a weekend. I don't try to fully force a bunch of trades. I'll just look for like one or two of these to kind of play out. In my opinion, you don't really need more. Like this is enough of a couple setups to look for to pretty much keep you with a trade every single weekend. So just chart out the weekend range. That's the easiest way. So again, right? Just short weekend pumps. It's these really do tend to look the exact same over and over again. Gonna leave this one off here. Um, Again, this is very different than trading during the week because you're trading such a micro range. And the important thing to understand is that the moves and the price action is very easily scammed. So it's not hard for them to move the price a couple $100 in either direction. It takes almost no volume. And because of that, it's very easy to understand that unfortunately the pumps can retrace instantly and the dumps can retrace instantly. So you got to be pretty aggressive. So hope this was helpful, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.